Hello and welcome to week 25 of my journey through the Milan Art Institute Mastery Program. It's starting to all blend together, so bear with me. This week we worked with rollers. So this was a suggestion that we use rollers in our artworks. You could take it or leave it. I personally do like rollers and I use them a lot for my background, so you can kind of see. This is kind of how I like to get a lot of my textures. I like to do sort of a darkish background and then lighter colors using the rollers. And I also like to do, once you put texture down and then you use the roller to go over it, then you'll get paint sort of on the texture and not in the recessed areas, so it can help to accentuate your texture. This piece I was trying to have this part of her head sort of recede into the background and have soft edges, but then I really didn't like it. So, this is, I guess, coming off the back of last week where we were trying to do composition and critiquing our work and have 5 levels of depth. So I was like, okay, well, this stuff is more in the foreground and then just try and make her head look like it's receding. But then I just really didn't like how she kind of faded into the background. So, and then I've started going back over the oil paints with some mark making materials. So I got a Sakura pen that's like a oil base, and then I got some oil pastels and China markers, which can all go over oil paints. And this piece, only her skin tone is done in oils, and the rest of I've actually left in acrylic. So I think I'm starting to get a little bit more of a sense of what my style is. We had a critique with Dimitri about finding your style and your voice, and so I sent her a few of my favorite pieces, not too many. I probably should have sent more, but seeing as I'm not in the portfolio phase yet, I don't necessarily have a whole lot of work that I love. But one thing that she pointed out was the transparency in the skin tones, and that was something that I didn't necessarily see for myself. But yeah, it's totally true. I love to do the face and the skin tones in lots of washes and build up color that way rather than working with opaque paints and mixing the color and sort of having to mix a different color for each, as the face sort of goes around, you've got different opaque paints that you're laying on, and it's more about sort of building up layers of washes to build in the darks. So, and then with that then, when it comes to the lights, the lights tend to be done in opaque paints because you're working off of a mid-tone. But what I like to do is I like to do a lot of the sketchy stuff. So I like to use my markers and actually cross-hatch in the light parts to bring out the highlights. So, and then on the other front, we learned about how originality and collecting source materials. So we looked at a lot of photographs. We talked about what kind of photographs make good sources and what don't. So what kind of lighting conditions you want, what kind of mood you want in atmosphere. We talked about the photographer's voice and how much can you tell, how much of the photographer's voice is present. And if it's too much, then you can't really use that image, but you can take the idea and set up your own photo shoot with those ideas. And that's definitely made me question a lot of the work that I've done, because I do work from beautiful photographs that I enjoy, and then I wonder have I changed it enough? Because they're professional photographs, the composition is already really good. I do readjust the composition, but certainly I think if the photographer saw these pieces, they would recognize that it's their work. But it is quite different. I mean, it's the same pose, of course, and because the person's not in any sort of other context, it's pretty obvious that it's the same pose. So gotta keep an eye out for that. And I have done, when I was doing my artwork years ago, I did do my own photo shoots. And I think now, because I'm producing so much artwork, I'm not necessarily taking the time to do my own photo shoots. So I might start doing that. I would need some models because I don't really want to paint myself. The other thing I did this week was on Pinterest, we had our boards for our personal aesthetic and artwork we want to imitate, but that would just end up on Pinterest and I would never really look at it and never really think about it when I'm in the studio. So let me show you what I did. So I actually printed out all my images and put them up on the wall of my studio so you can see here. So on the left side is my personal aesthetic board. So for me, this is just beautiful photography that I love, and mostly it's about the color scheme. So a lot of these sort of purples and magentas and teal blues, yellows, so there's some really high contrast stuff there. So that's going to help me, don't mind that, that's going to help me to remember which colors that I like to use, because I get really stuffed for colors and end up using every single color. And then on the right is artwork that I want to emulate, so certain sort of like layering techniques. You know, so on this piece here, I really like this sort of low contrast background, so I might try doing something like that. On this one, I quite like these sort of big blocky color shapes, almost looks like stencil work. So just trying to, you know, remember, okay, I'm going to make a piece, you know, I'm going to make a couple pieces that have this kind of background, and let's just think about that one thing at a time. So that's what I've done, and this was week 25. If you like what you see and you want to see more, you can always follow me on social media or on YouTube. All right, see you next week. Bye.